Hi everybody, it's Kid Catholic Season 1 Episode 25, and here with me today to look around the sacristy is Father Hamilton.
Hello everybody.
The parish priest of my church, and we are going to go in and look at the vestments.
So here we are inside the sacristy, and here is you could say the most basic garment that the deacon or the priest wears. It's called an alb, and it's what he puts on, one of the first things he puts on as he gets ready for Mass or other services. So albs have different designs. Some are very simple, just plain white. Some have some decoration. Some have pleats or folds to make them just a little more solemn and nice. So there's just different kinds here. I'll show you. Here's a plain white one. And then here is one that has some yellow decoration crosses on it. And then another kind that is even a slightly different color and has some gray decoration on it as well. So they're just different kinds for different ranks of solemnity or celebration. So also in the sacristy, as you can see, are the other vestments that are worn for the celebration of Mass. And obviously there are different colors. Depending on what season we are in. Right now we're in the season of Lent, which means that purple is the color that is worn, and there are just some different styles of purple vestment. Here is one of them. This is the outermost vestment the priest wears, called the Chasuble. Here is another style of a purple one. And then of course all the other colors. So there's red, often used for Pentecost and the feast days of martyrs. White is used for Marian feast days or aspects of the Lord's life, like for instance Christmas and Easter. Green is worn in ordinary time, which we just finished last week as we moved into Lent. Then there are a few other colors that are worn less frequently. The rose-colored one used twice a year, one in Advent and one in Lent. And then black is a color that can also be used for funerals. And this is a black one, just a different style of vestment, less of a fuller cut than the first ones I brought out from the closet. And then after the chasubles that are all hanging, you'll see these longer garments. I bet the camera can pick that up. And these are called copes. They're like a cape. And this would be worn for sacred liturgies that are not Mass. So for instance, a procession outdoors, or the priest could opt to wear the appropriate color for a baptism, or for a wedding, or some other kind of blessing. So all of these vestments are kept up here for the priest and the deacon to get ready for Mass or other ceremonies. Another part of the vestment that goes and matches with the chasuble is the stole. And so after the long white garment is put on, then the priest puts kind of a rope belt on that's called a cincture, and then a stole. The stole is placed over the neck and dangles down like this, and then the chasuble is placed over it. So most of the time, you're not even going to see the priest's stole if he's celebrating the Mass, because this other vestment's going to be covering it.
And when can we wear the stole?
Well, the stole is worn anytime a priest is doing a particularly priestly function in accord with his ministry. So he's supposed to wear it with Mass, of course, but even outside of Mass, if he's hearing confessions, he would put a stole on, in this case a purple stole. If he's doing a baptism, he could simply wear a white stole over his cassock and surplice, or over his alb, which is the long white garment. If he were to, for instance, go to the hospital and need to anoint someone or take Holy Communion, he might be dressed even just like this, and put a small stole that he would carry with him over him for giving the sacraments in the hospital or in circumstances outside of the church building. So all of these things are kept in the sacristy where the priest gets ready for Mass, and he, of course, should get ready in a prayerful fashion because the sacristy is a place of prayer as he gets ready for that important part of his ministry.
Why is it a place of prayer?
Well, because the priest needs to have the right focus for what he's about to do. In other words, the Mass is not about the priest himself, but he's to put on Christ Jesus, who is the one who is the main minister acting to give us himself in Holy Communion. And to help the priest remember that, there's actually a prayer that goes along with each vestment that he puts on. And that helps the priest remain in a prayerful spirit as he gets ready for Mass, for what he's about to do. In fact, I've got here, if the camera wants to get it, I have here some of the vesting prayers on the card. And you'll see the left side has the prayer in Latin as he washes his hands, as he places an amice on, which is a cloth that he places over his head and then around his shoulders. The alb is that white garment. And then on this other side, the cincture, which is like a rope kind of belt, the stole, and the chasuble, the outermost garment. But there's a prayer that goes with each one of those that the priest says, and most of the time, by the time you've been ordained many years, you have the prayer memorized as you put that on.
So there's a prayer before every time you put on one of the pieces to your vestment?
Yes.
Now we are going to go down to the lower sacristy where we are going to look at some of the stuff that is used for the Mass. Now we are here in the lower sacristy, and Father Hamilton is going to tell us a little bit about what is on the table.
Certainly. A lot of the things we use at Mass are down here, some of the most important things, and what I want to show first is the chalice and the paten. So the chalice is the cup in which the wine is placed that becomes, after consecration, the precious blood of the Lord. The paten is more of a flat, has a little curve to it, more of a flat-like plate. And on this, the altar bread, the host is placed that after consecration becomes the body of the Lord. There are a lot of different styles of chalices. This one happens to be my own. Many parishes have other chalices too. And so here's another chalice owned by the parish. And you can tell the difference here is this is gold material versus mine that's silver. And just some different decoration on this one. But again, a chalice and a paten. Most priests own their own chalice, one that was purchased for them or given to them or maybe handed down to them. In my case, this chalice had belonged previously to my own pastor when I was growing up as a boy, Father William Eishoff. And he was very instrumental in my life. He was my pastor when I was deciding to go to seminary. And so some years later, as I was approaching ordination, Father William Eishoff became sick and he died, but his brother is also a priest. And his brother, knowing that his brother, Father William Eishoff, was influential in my life, decided to give me Father William Eishoff's chalice as my own. So that's how I got this chalice. This was originally designed for William Eishoff, Father William Eishoff, but has now become mine and has some decoration on the base of it. It also, you can see the decoration there, Christ sitting in judgment, and on one side of him is St. Paul, you see, with the sword, and then the other side of him, we can't exactly know why this was chosen, but we believe it's St. John the Baptist standing in water there. Okay? So this paten has a little dent in it, which is very hard to see, probably impossible to see on the camera, but as you follow the edge here, it just dips up a little bit. And that's because this paten was being carried by a certain altar boy and not being carried very carefully. And so that the audience knows, it was not Kid Catholic who was carrying this, but it was an altar boy years ago. In fact, it was me. When I was much younger as an altar boy, I was carrying this to set up for Mass for my own pastor. And as I was walking, my sleeve caught on a door handle, and as I walked past, it yanked my arm back, and this paten went flying off the top, and it hit the hard floor in the church and made a dent in Father William Eishoff's paten, which then became the dented chalice and paten that I own. So another item that is used is this. It looks somewhat like a chalice, except that it has a lid on it, and this is called a Ciborium. And there the altar breads, the hosts, are placed, and they can be brought up in the offertory for consecration. This also is a way which we can distribute Holy Communion from it. And then after Holy Communion, the extra remaining hosts, the Blessed Sacrament, can be stored with the lid on in the tabernacle. Another item is this back here. It's also called a paten, oftentimes called a communion paten, to distinguish it from the priest's paten. So you see the differences there. There's a stick attached to it. And what this allows is that an altar boy would hold the stick with one hand and place his free hand underneath it. And during Holy Communion, he places the paten directly under the chin of a person who's receiving on the tongue, or under the hand of someone who receives on the hands. And this is just to show extra respect in case any crumbs should fall from the host, or in case the host maybe somehow should drop itself. It's a way to try to catch those things. And then after Holy Communion, the priest cleans this paten of any crumbs by purifying it into the chalice. And then finally, a few cloths that are used. You've seen this cloth here that's kind of long. It's got a cross in the very center of it, and it's folded in 3 parts, okay? But you can tell that it's rectangular and long. This is called a purificator, and it's usually placed over the chalice when the chalice is prepared for Mass. Its purpose is that when the chalice is, when the priest consumes from the chalice, or when he's washing the chalice, it's a way to wipe the lip of the chalice off, to clean it and to dry it, okay? And then the other cloth is this larger square cloth. I'll unfold it. This is placed in the center of the altar during Mass so that the gifts of bread and wine are brought and placed on it. And it is on this cloth that the bread and wine are consecrated to become the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. This extra cloth just being sort of an extra way of showing respect to that very place in the center of the altar where the gifts will be transformed into the gift of Jesus himself.
Thank you, and that was Father Hamilton here with us today. And now it's time for the Saint of the Week. And we're right back. Now, guys, before today's Saint of the Week, just wanted to let you guys know that today will be the last episode of this season, so I will take a week break, so there will not be an episode for 1 week. Then we will get into season 2, just to let you know of that. But today's Saint of the Week will be St. Patrick, because it was St. Patrick's Day. Now, I need to make this quick, but what St. Patrick did was he was very brave, and he went to Ireland, even though he was captured and taken to Ireland, and he could have easily run away, but he didn't. Even though there were persecutors of all kind there, he stayed there and he taught the faith to them, and I think his bravery is amazing. Now, thank you everybody for watching. Please like and comment what you think 2 weeks saints and topic should be. Please like the video and subscribe. That way you get notified when I come out with a new video. That was Kid Catholic Season 1, Episode 25, and I will see you in 2 weeks.